And we begin the news in Borno State, where no fewer than 26 persons have been killed, with 3 others sustaining injuries following an improvised explosive device (IED) detonation along the Iran-Kala-Bauj-Gamburu-Angala highway. Zanga Zula Makama, a counterinsurgency publication focused on the Lake Chad region, revealed that several civilian vehicles traveling from Iran and Kala-Bauj local government area ran into a series of hidden explosives. Makama said the incident occurred on Monday after the convoy veered into a zone where the IEDs had been strategically placed. The publication noted that the IEDs were triggered by the movement of vehicles, adding that emergency personnel were swiftly deployed to evacuate victims and administer first aid. Still in Borno State, no fewer than 15 persons have been confirmed dead after jihadists linked to the Islamic State group attacked a village in Nigeria's Borno State on Monday. Eyewitnesses say the attackers, believed to be fighters from the Islamic State West Africa province, ISWAP, stormed Kwapil village near Chibok area at about 5 p.m. local time. Now, they arrived on motorcycles and opened fire on residents who had gathered to mourn a local community leader. Residents who spoke with journalists say the attackers targeted mourners indiscriminately, forcing survivors to flee into surrounding bushes. By Tuesday morning, 15 bodies have been recovered from the village and nearby areas. The attack is the latest in a series of deadly assaults in Borno State, where extremist violence has escalated in recent weeks. Security forces have yet to issue an official statement, but local communities remain on high alert amid fears of more attacks. For more insight on this, we're joined by News Center's correspondent Umaru Kirawa, who joins us live from Maiduguri, Borno State. Umaru, very saddening news here. These attacks are coming in thick and fast. What really is the reason for this rise in attacks we're seeing in the last weeks?
Well, it's a very serious, unfortunate incidents that continue to happen within the last 2 months from January to date. And from in the last couple of 2, 3, 4 days, about 50 people have been killed. These are not only figures, but these are human beings. 1, 2, 3, 4, up to 50. About 50 people lost within the span of 4 or 5 days. And it is unfortunate that the terrorists now are devising the use of technology, IEDs, and so on and so forth, planting them on major highways, and travelers march on those explosive devices, and then it led to the death of so many people. I believe so many really need to be done in terms of addressing the resurgence of the high number of attacks, particularly on the major highway. Recently, the British government supported the Nigerian government with some equipment that really helped in identifying IEDs and so on and so forth. And I don't know, maybe because there is relative peace and the level of check-ins on the highway is minimal, but this really calls for re-energized effort towards checkmating highways, particularly that of the Maiduguri-Dikwa-Gamborungala road, the Maiduguri-Gambua up to Chibok, and other roads, including that of Maiduguri-Bama-Boza, including Pulka, and that of Kirawa road, and so on and so forth, because so many lives have been lost day in, day out. And one key thing that is being used by these insurgents, whether it is Boko Haram or whether it is ISWAP, one thing is the use of technology. And that technology is IED, the improvised explosive devices. This calls on the Nigerian government, on Nigerian military, to really look inward towards addressing the start of this unfortunate menace that continues to take the lives of Nigerians, the lives of human beings here in Borno State.
All right. I mean, I have to ask now about the government. What is the state government saying so far, and what are they doing to make sure that more lives are not lost in these communities?
Well, as you know, of recently, the state governor made pronouncement with regard to how this insurgency is coming back and why the Nigerian government really needs to work hand in hand with the state government towards tackling the issue. What we continue to see is a message of sympathy from the government to people that they should be patient. The government is working towards addressing what is happening. But honestly, what is happening requires more than words, but a re-energized effort in terms of addressing the scourge of these unfortunate incidences. It is yesterday that we are getting a new theater commander for the Operation Hadinkai Joint Task Force, Major General Abdul Salam Abubakar, who has taken over from Major General Shaibu Waidi. And we are hoping that things will really get better with change in the leadership button, and of course, maybe there will be deployment of.
We seem to be having issues there with Umar Kirawa's network there. We'll try to bring him on subsequent bulletins to just give us a bit of update on those that are wounded from the attacks. Away from that, the trial of the leader of the proscribed indigenous persons of Biafra, Nnamdi Kanu, resumed today at the Federal High Court in Abuja. Now, during proceedings, the federal government, represented by Senior Advocate of Nigeria, Adegboyega Awomolo, he presented key witnesses responsible for the arrest of Kanu in 2015, who testified on his activities bordering on the operation of Radio Biafra. Our correspondent Joshua Imarayi was in court and now reports. We're going to bring you that report in our subsequent bulletins. In the meantime, still on judicial matters, a Federal Capital Territory FCT High Court in Akpo has dismissed an application filed by Godwin Emefiele, the former governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria, CBN, seeking to reclaim an estate seized by the federal government. On December 2nd, the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC, secured the final forfeiture of an estate in the FCT. The estate, located at plot 109, Cadastral Zone CO9, Local Goma District, covers 150,500 square meters and the country's capital, and contains 753 duplexes. Now, although the estate was initially linked to a company that later denied ownership, Emefiele filed a motion as an interested party in the suit. The former CBN governor sought an extension of time to apply to set aside the interim and final forfeiture orders made by the court in December of 2024. Still on financial crimes, the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC, on Tuesday arrested businesswoman Aisha Achimogu at the Nnamdi Azikiwe International Airport in Abuja. Achimogu was reportedly arrested around 5 a.m. shortly after her return from London. She had been declared wanted in March by the EFCC over allegations of criminal conspiracy and money laundering. On Monday, the Federal High Court in Abuja, presided over by Justice Iyangeko, had ordered her to appear before the EFCC on Tuesday and also to appear before the court on Wednesday, April 30th of 2025. Her lawyer, Chief Chika Osulu Ojukwu, confirmed the arrest. Now, Ojukwu criticized the EFCC's action, describing it as a violation of a court order. He further disclosed that Achimogu had commenced a hunger strike to protest what he termed a breach of her fundamental rights. Meanwhile, one of the promoters of the cryptocurrency trading platform, Crypto Bridge Exchange, better known as CBEX, has been taken into custody by the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission after the accused turned himself in. Adefowora Abiodun surrendered to the Anti-Graft Agency on Monday, following a ruling by Justice Emeka Nwoti of the Abuja Division of the Federal High Court approving the EFCC's request to arrest and detain 6 CBEX promoters. The decision is pending the conclusion of is pending the conclusion of the investigation into the alleged offenses and potential prosecution of the individuals declared wanted by the EFCC. He, along with 5 others, were declared wanted by EFCC on Friday over the CBEX Ponzi scheme that swindled thousands of Nigerians out of their money worth over $1 billion. Former president of the Nigerian Bar Association, Dr. Olisa Agbakoba, has written a second letter to the suspended senator representing Kogi Central in the National Assembly, Senator Natasha Akpoti-Oduoha, demanding a retraction of what he described as her, quote, clearly false and unsubstantiated sexual harassment allegations against Senate President Godswill Akpabio. The senior advocate of Nigeria said the latest letter became necessary owing to the fact that the embattled senator had failed to clarify the significant contradictions in her allegations against Akpabio, as demanded in his first letter dated April 14th of 2025. Agbakoba, who is also the Senate president's lawyer, made this known at a press conference in Lagos on Tuesday.
In defamation, we call it retraction. So you say, Senator Akpabio sexually harassed me. That is clear, isn't it? You all agree that she said it. I don't hear anybody say anything. So, is it true? That's all we're asking. Two questions. Is it true? If true, where's the evidence? If you have no evidence and maybe you said it in the heat of the moment, then retract it. That's what is called an apology. You say, what I said, I didn't say. And I can assure.
In the meantime, the Corporate Affairs Commission has issued a stern warning to businesses operating in Nigeria without proper registration, giving them 6 weeks to comply or face legal consequences. In a statement released on Tuesday entitled Public Notice, Carry On Business in Nigeria under an Unregistered Name or Acronym, the Commission warned that offenders could face persecution and end up to 2 years in prison. The directive follows public outrage over the collapse of a fraudulent cryptocurrency scheme known as CBEX, which scammed Nigerians out of an estimated 1.3 trillion naira. While CBEX promoter ST Technologies International Limited was registered with CAC, authorities say it lacked proper licensing from the Securities and Exchange Commission to operate an investment platform. The CAC also reminded businesses of the legal requirement to visibly display their registered name and number at every business location, in line with Section 729 of the Companies and Allied Matters Act. You're watching News Now on News Central Television. Let's go on a short break, shall we? When we return, there's plenty more. Stay here. And welcome back. The House of Representatives' recent move to amend the Constitution and ensure all election petitions tribunal cases are concluded before the swearing-in of elected officials is generating strong reactions across the country. Now, while many view the bill as a step towards ensuring electoral justice, others raise concerns about judicial capacity and political will.
A proposed amendment to the Nigerian Constitution bordering on cases before election tribunals across the country is sparking national debate. The bill, which has passed second reading in the House of Representatives, seeks to stop the swearing-in of elected officials until all election petition cases against them are resolved. For some, it is a necessary step that could ensure fair play and prevent abuse of office.
When people are sworn in before you finish with litigation, the tendency that you embolden certain persons who are already sworn in, and you also give them direct access to public treasury to fight their opponents. Is something fantastic, but the question you want to ask is, will people in the National Assembly be courageous enough to heed to this message as often advanced by advocated by civil society?
But not everyone agrees with this move. At the Abuja School of Social and Political Thought, concerns were raised about the reliability of the nation's judiciary.
The court that you are not sure of, you are independent, you are not sure of your objectiveness, you are not, that can easily be swayed. So it's better we conclude our electoral process and allow people that win the election to govern before any other thing.
Despite these concerns, others insist that delaying swearing in until all legal battles are concluded is essential to preserving democratic integrity citing examples of prolonged disputes in states like Imo and Bayelsa.
When people take over government, they use the instrument of government to defeat any effort to remove them from power, including threats and old bribery and corruption. So there's no reason why we should have somebody in power and matters pending against them. If you look at the US and elsewhere, there were over 100 suits filed by Trump in 2020. They were all cleared before Inauguration Day.
The bill before the House has not been referred to the Constitutional Review Committee. However, some believe that for the proposal to work, it must be accompanied with judicial reforms.
So the court is so powerful. What we are urging the court to do is use that power on behalf of truth and justice and for democracy. The court has the power to remove anybody who came to power, wrongly, whether he has spent 2 years but we should carry out reforms to show that all cases are determined before anybody gets sworn in.
As Nigeria look ahead to future elections, many agree that all citizens must be subject to the nation's laws and elections must be conducted with every citizen given a level playing field. In Abuja for News Central, I am Joshua Imarayi.
Many thanks to Joshua there for that report. Now, joining us now is the Executive Director of the Abuja School of Social and Political Thought, Dr. Sam Amadi. Dr. Amadi, many thanks for doing this with us. Let's just get started, shall we? How practical is, this for all petitions to be addressed before swearing in?
I think first, thank you, Bob. It's actually the reasonable thing. Because look, the idea of doing swearing is that you are currently now in office. And so you would expect that whoever is sworn in is now going to act as the governor or the president. So the notion of swearing is this is elected, confirmed, verified, and not to go. So it's reasonable, it's sensible. And again, it's the uncertainty that it throws up in terms of governance, in terms of the certainty around governance. It's not that hold back, investors can hold throughout to know better. So it makes common sense, it's good for the economic environment and investment, it's also good for issues of justice. So that who could bet is not the president, private presidents can use power illegally to shut down even the judicial since some to the court. So it's later.
Right.
Possible.
Doctor, we're having issues with your audio. We'll try to bring this discussion out in our subsequent bulletins, but for now we'll try to fix that. That was Dr. Sam Amadi giving us a bit of insight following calls for reforms, especially when it comes to election tribunal cases before swearing in of elected officials. And now to politics. More politics here as Nigeria inches closer to the 2027 general elections. Opposition politics appears to be facing renewed challenges. Now, the recent defection of Ifeanyi Okowa, the PDP vice presidential candidate in the 2023 election alongside the Delta State Governor Sheriff Oborevwori to the APC has further reshaped the political landscape, with many major opposition parties battling internal crises. Questions are now emerging over the strength of any credible third force. In the midst of all this, the Social Democratic Party, SDP, appears to be one of the few opposition platforms yet to be engulfed in crisis. The national chairman of the party, Shehu Gamba, joined us earlier to take a look at the latest wave of defections in the country.
We galvanize this country to ensure that democratic institutions are being strengthened, the rule of law are being strengthened, internal democracy are being strengthened. I find it very disheartening in a situation where people are being somehow coerced for one reason or the other, or simply because they have been in public office. They breach one or two processes, they are under investigation, and they become a soft target for political instrument and coercion to leave their own parties to join another party. This is not just the first time it is happening. It started during the PDP government, where governors, due to insecurity or due to fear of the unknown after leaving office, most of them that are in second time as governors defected to the PDP as of then. A lot of them defected to PDP. So it is the same old tactics that is applying today. It wasn't as if it's a new innovation or a new system.
The United Nations Children's Fund, UNICEF, has identified low immunization coverage, poor sanitation, and malnutrition as key drivers behind the re-emergence of polio and other preventable diseases in Lagos State. Now, this was disclosed during the 2025 World Immunization Week Advocacy Walk for Polio, held on Tuesday in partnership with the Lagos State government. The walk, which began at the office of the First Lady in Alausa and ended at the Ministry of Education in Ikeja, drew the participation of government officials, community leaders, youth advocates, influencers, and hundreds of residents. Speaking at the event, UNICEF Lagos Field Office Chief Celine Lafo-Chari highlighted the urgent need to strengthen routine immunization across communities, as she reiterated UNICEF's commitment to supporting Lagos and protecting vulnerable children. Also speaking was the First Lady of Lagos State, Dr. Claudina Abijoke Sanwo-Olu, and she described immunization as a fundamental right, urging all residents to actively support the fight against vaccine-preventable diseases. Motorists traveling along the Lagos-Ibadan Expressway are experiencing major delays after an articulated truck overturned and spilled its contents near the Otedola Bridge on the tollgate-bound lane. The accident, which occurred around 1 p.m. on Tuesday, has blocked approximately 80% of the road, resulting in heavy gridlock stretching as far back as Kara. Now, the traffic officials from the Lagos State Traffic Management Authority, LASMA, are on the ground managing the congestion and coordinating efforts to remove the truck and clear the scene. LASMA General Manager Olalekan Bakari Oki called for patience from road users, urging them to cooperate fully with traffic officers as the operation continues. Authorities say the road will be cleared as quickly as possible, but in the meantime, commuters are advised to explore alternative routes where available. The Consulate General of the People's Republic of China in Lagos, in collaboration with key Nigerian and Chinese institutions, has hosted the second Lagos Forum Conference, a strategic gathering aimed at strengthening infrastructure development, boosting production capacity, and promoting cooperation in green and digital economies between China and Nigeria. News Central's correspondent Israel Iferobo has the details.
The conference themed Infrastructure and Production Capacity Cooperation, Empowering Industrialization via Characteristic Project between China and Nigeria, Green and Digital Economy, brought together policymakers, business leaders, diplomats, and scholars to explore innovative pathways to bilateral and continental partnerships.
Lagos State aligns strategically with the commitments made, particularly in areas of infrastructure, financing, industrialization, human capital development, and trade expansion. We see immense opportunities to further our collaboration with China, leveraging platforms like FOCAC to drive significant growth, significant investments, technology transfer, and sustainable growth.
China and Nigeria.
Ms. Yang Yuhing, Consul General of the People's Republic of China in Lagos, reaffirmed China's commitment to building stronger economic bridges with Nigeria and Africa, emphasizing mutual respect and shared opportunities.
China and Nigeria have a very big potential for deepen our cooperation, not only like a traditional area, infrastructure, agriculture, but also in some new field like digital economy, like the agricultural modernization.
We must partner with China to ensure that we have at least 70% electrification in Nigeria. We must. And secondly, we also need to engage the Chinese to ensure that our enterprises, entrepreneurs, have access to at least a single-digit interest loan facility.
Representing the Director General, Nigeria Institute of International Affairs, NIIA, Professor F.M. Ubi, Director of Studies, stressed the need for strategic dialogue and a focus on new economic models to ensure the success of the next phase of China-Africa cooperation.
I'm very happy that our president, some few months ago, last year, September, went to China and he signed a lot of other MOUs, which has actually elevated our relationship from just strategic partnership to a comprehensive strategic partnership kind of relationship. But what does that mean? That means it's going to take into consideration a holistic areas and sectors that prior to now we have not engaged with them.
Well, it's to begin to do the right things. Okay, so today the balance of trade is a deficit on Nigerian side, and that's because we're not producing enough. And most of our imports from China, they're finished products. So how can we change the narrative such that we are maybe importing partially finished or raw materials and then add value locally?
Why the China that began the largest industrialization? I think maybe first one, if one country pushes the industrialization, first of all, your political, you should be a very strong political. You want a central governance, so you can collection all the material. Second one is you should be stability. Political system is important.
I think it's worthy of.
At the end of the forum, both countries appear poised to chart new frontiers of partnership rooted in mutual growth and innovation. In Lagos, for News Central, Israel Ife-Robo.
President Bola Tinubu has congratulated Dr. Mike Adenuga, the chairman of Globalcom and Cornell, on his birthday, praising his resilience, business acumen, and philanthropy. In a statement issued on April 29th, Tinubu describes Dr. Adenuga's journey from humble beginnings as a symbol of vision and hard work, lauding his success across banking, telecoms, oil and gas. The president highlights Globalcom's impact in revolutionizing Nigeria's telecom sector through per-second billing and commended Cornell's role in promoting energy independence. He also praised Adenuga's philanthropy through the Mike Adenuga Foundation and acknowledged his continental impact, noting the honors he has received from France and Ghana. President Tinubu prayed for Adenuga's continued health and wisdom, celebrating his contributions to Nigeria's progress and prosperity. You're watching news now on News Central Television. Coming up, tensions persist in Burkina Faso despite foiled coup attempt. We'll tell you all about this just after the break. Join us again. And here, welcome back. As of to Burkina Faso, as tensions have remained high across the country a week after authorities announced that they had foiled a major coup attempt aimed at toppling the military junta led by Captain Ibrahim Traoré. The government disclosed that the plan to overthrow the administration was uncovered after security agents intercepted communications between a senior military officer and terrorist groups. The intercepted plans allegedly involved an attack on the presidential palace on April 16th of 2025. Military vehicles now guard the entrances to key facilities while cabinet meetings at the presidential palace are held under heavy security involving sniffer dogs and aerial surveillance. Local media reports indicate that a scheduled meeting of army officers on April 22nd was abruptly postponed and later cancelled after invitees failed to appear, fueling suspicions and anxiety within the ranks of the armed forces. Amnesty International has condemned the Kenyan government's pressure to cancel a local screening of the BBC documentary Blood Parliament, calling the move futile given the film's widespread online reach. The organization also demanded public accountability from the National Police Service and Kenya Defense Forces over the documentary's findings. The BBC said the screening was cancelled due to official pressure. The film, aired by BBC Africa Eye, identifies uniformed officers allegedly responsible for fatally shooting unarmed protesters outside Parliament during the June 2024 anti-tax demonstrations. Over 60 people were killed during the crackdown. Despite repeated police denials, Kenya's Independent Policing Oversight Authority confirmed 41 of the deaths under review involved gunfire. Investigations continue with just 2 cases currently in court amid growing calls for transparency and justice for the victims.
Kenya's section outlines a sustained crackdown on civil liberties. This includes the use of excessive and unnecessary force by the National Police Service during the 2024 nationwide protests. Updated figures indicate that at least 65 individuals, Kenyan citizens, were killed, 89 persons were forcibly disappeared, and thousands were arbitrarily arrested. We now demand and join several other organizations to demand that the National Police Service and the Kenya Defense Forces act and publicly state the actions that they are taking with regards to the findings of Blood Parliament, the BBC documentary that identifies 2 state security officers suspected to have killed Erickson Mutisia, David.
The Lesotho Communications Authority has refuted allegations that it was pressured into granting a license to Elon Musk's Starlink to operate within the country. Officials say that Starlink submitted its application in 2024, and the authority has since been thoroughly reviewing the proposal. However, critics are raising concerns over whether foreign investments like Starlink will truly benefit the local citizens. News Center's Wangani Ziziba reports.
Raised eyebrows around the world, the government of Lesotho granted a license to Elon Musk's controversial satellite internet service, Starlink. But questions abound: are they being bullied into submission, or is there a greater geopolitical strategy at play?
There were the views that says no, don't give them, and others saying give them. And what we had to do was to look at law. Can we say that they cannot be given in terms of law? And the answer was no. They were eligible, and then we just exercised our legal right to give them, and there is nothing extraordinary about it, like I said.
With its mountainous terrain and limited infrastructure, internet access has been a challenge for the Lesotho people. In theory, Starlink's low Earth orbit satellite constellation could bring high-speed internet to remote areas. However, many critics are raising concerns about the implications of this deal.
It's a sellout position, yes. Not only selling Basotho, but the entire region, including South Africa. We are surrounded by South Africa, and all of a sudden we have a satellite internet within South Africa without even having some consultations and negotiations with South Africa.
Well, let's get the proper understanding of what is a Starlink. Look, as we speak, the signals of the Starlink are already there in South Africa. They are already everywhere in the world. Just that South Africa needs to approve it to have the equipment in. I had people talking of things like spillage and all that. No, look, we can't talk of spillage as far as Starlink is concerned.
However, many critics are raising concerns about the implications of this deal. Some Lesotho citizens say that Lesotho may have been pressured into this agreement, particularly with speculations surrounding the kingdom's economic ties with the United States following the Trump administration paused 50% tariffs on certain goods imported from Lesotho.
But as soon as there were tariffs, the application was like, I could say it was fast-tracked. And the Prime Minister, maybe 2 days or a day before Starlink or LCA made that announcement, the Prime Minister had specifically said, as government, they are trying to remove all the barriers for American businesses, including Starlink. So we have no doubt that Starlink had been given that license only to appease Elon Musk and Donald Trump.
Whether it's a strategic pivot or geopolitical maneuvering, the implications of this license are complex. The citizens are worried And also many fear that if this license turns out to be 100% foreign-owned, the economic benefit could bypass the local communities entirely.
We found it strange that Starlink wanted to come to Lesotho, but there was no stake for Basotho. So if they are saying satellite internet is the future, Basotho deserve to be part of that future, not as consumers, but as owners, as shareholders. Yes.
Is it? From me, Bongani Siziba, in Maseru, Lesotho.
And off to Tunisia, where the country's President Kais Saied on Tuesday condemned what he described as, quote, comments and statements by foreign parties, end quote, over the controversial mass trial involving dozens of opposition figures. In an official statement, President Saied said the remarks amount to blatant interference in Tunisia's sovereignty and internal judicial processes. He pushed back against criticism over the lack of international observers at the trial, suggesting Tunisia could equally send observers to those countries demanding reforms to examine their own legal systems and procedures. The backlash follows a court ruling earlier this month in which handed down lengthy prison sentences ranging from 13 to 66 years to around 40 individuals, including politicians, lawyers, and business figures accused of conspiracy against state security and links to terrorism. The trial has drawn strong criticism from the United Nations and Western powers, including France and Germany, who raised concerns over due process and human rights. And off to Spain as shops begin reopening and people return to the streets of Madrid on Tuesday as power was restored to more than 99% of mainland Spain. The country was plunged into darkness on Monday by a massive blackout that crippled large parts of the Iberian Peninsula. Millions were left without electricity, phone service, or internet access. Trains ground to a halt as passengers were stranded and hundreds were trapped in elevators as emergency crews responded to widespread disruptions. Parts of Portugal were also briefly affected by the outage. Authorities are still investigating the cause, while officials praise the rapid efforts of technicians who worked overnight to bring the country back online. China has expressed openness to strengthening diplomatic relations with Canada following Prime Minister Mark Carney's recent electoral win, which secured his Liberal Party another term in office. Now, according to a statement from the Chinese Foreign Ministry, Beijing is prepared to improve bilateral ties, emphasizing principles such as mutual respect, equality, and shared benefits. Relations between the two nations have faced a strain in recent years over a range of political and trade disputes.
关系问题上的中方注意到有关报道，中方在中加关系问题上的立场是一贯的、明确的。中方愿在相互尊重、平等互利的基础上发展中加关系。
Let's go on a short break, shall we? When we return, we'll bring you business and sports news. Stay there.